I do now. Oh, it's great. Like Twitter is only for me to just see if I can get Dave Rubin to block me.
Is there any gay people out here tonight?
But to block me just because he's annoyed with my very polite and legitimate questions.
No, I like the way you kind of, what I like is the track you've adopted with Rubin is sort of like a smart version of the same tactic that like those annoying like logic lords on Twitter use, which is like always just ask like little pedantic questions.
I'm not asking pedantic questions. I'm asking perfectly legitimate questions. Dave Rubin
Exactly.
for a long time.
Perfectly legitimate
questions. Dave Rubin for a long time used to, what's the word? What's the verb I'm looking for? Burnish his liberal bona fides by talking about his support for single payer. And I've noticed that he has since dropped that when it became clear that he could not both support smaller government and single payer. Those two things couldn't be more at odds. In fact, almost definitionally, like when we talk about big government, like almost like what you're talking about is not exclusively, but primarily like the first thing you would do would be single payer healthcare coverage.
You know, Sam, though, just to be really fair.
Now, No,
I had to say this. I had read that in his book, he's going to address a really new reading of John Stuart Mill that synthesizes single payer.
All right, Michael, you're being facetious, and I don't appreciate it.
Sorry.
I am simply asking a perfectly legitimate question, and I'm curious, and he won't answer. And then I also notice that he is once again asking Team YouTube why he has to manually request a review for an interview he did that was initially demonetized. Now, I am in the same business as him in terms of YouTube, and I know for a fact it happens all the time and can happen on the most innocuous of videos because their algorithm, and then you request a review, and then manually they say, okay. And I'm really curious if he doesn't seem to see that pattern emerging, or does he keep asking as if he is some type of uniquely oppressed YouTube content provider? That's all I'm asking. And so these are perfectly legitimate questions.
They're very
that,
legitimate.
frankly, I'm just curious about. I just find it curious. That's all. I'm just asking questions. Is that wrong?
No,
is that wrong in America where we have a First Amendment? Thank you,
sir.
Now, getting to something that I think he would really do. And you know what else also occurs to me that since you brought it up, Michael, I noticed when Dave Rubin also talks about how he's not a right winger. And I don't, like he tries to create this straw man. People are calling him far right. Nobody's calling him far right. I think people know that he's basically a libertarian, which is, I think, most people would agree, on the right end of the spectrum, particularly in the context in which he embraces it. Ayn Rand, I don't think anybody would say was a leftist. All right, and he's literally supported by a foundation called Ayn Rand Foundation. All right, but here's my point. What I find very curious is that when he's trying to burgeon his bona fides for not being a right winger, he always brings up things that have to do with identity politics. Like he says, I'm a gay man and I'm married to a man. And it's funny because I thought that was the problem.
He's been playing identity politics for a bit.
Intersectionality and identity politics were the problem, yet when he burgeons his credentials, they all seem to be more about social issues.
That's a fucking good point.
Thank you.
Because they think we care about that.
Well, no, I mean, I do care. Listen, I care about, I think the marriage equality is important. I also think that being pro-choice is very important.
I don't
think
care that
I'm
he is
against capital
specifically
punishment.
gay.
I think that's very important.
You think he's opposed to? I don't know if he's
Oh,
opposed to
he
capital
wrote that
punishment.
today.
Well,
He found
very
that.
good.
He stumbled upon that.
In their caricatured version of us, we value people more if they're part of a marginalized group.
Well, I mean, I don't even know if that's it as much as he's both making the case that this stuff is destructive and that it should be his part of his CV. And that's the most important thing, because nobody's forcing him. Nobody's asking him, are you pro-choice? That's what he is. Are you for marriage equality?
He should actually, I mean, by his logic, he should never mention any of his personal identity at all. Nobody should.
I mean,
There's a completely
It's almost
objective-
offensive to mention it.
It's
in some ways,
anti-intellectual,
it's
according
very-
to that
it's
understanding.
very surprising to me that he would do this.
Yo, is it not a bit hypocriticalist?
All right.